for Hollywood. I am big. It's the pictures that got small. Oh, hello there. I am Stan the Movie Man, and this is my review of Pacific Rim Uprising. It stars John Boyega, Scott Eastwood, Jean Tian, also Kaylee Spaney, Rinko Kikuchi, and more. It is the story of the son of Stacker Pentecost, played in the original Pacific Rim by Idris Elba, Jake Pentecost, played by John Boyega. It's been 10 years since the events of Pacific Rim, and there haven't been any more kaiju attacks. However, there is a black market in parts from Jaegers, the big robots that fought against the big monsters that were called kaiju. There's a black market for these parts, and people are building their own underground Jaegers for some unknown reason. Jake is kind of in this world, living in a location that hasn't recovered in the 10 years from the kaiju attacks. He lives in a mansion that's got a carcass of a kaiju laying in the yard, but this whole area is largely abandoned. Excuse me. And he figures it's better to live in a partially destroyed mansion that has a pool than to try to scrape by out in the regular world. However, while he is out trying to steal a piece of Jaeger equipment, he runs across a young girl named Amara Namani, played by Kaylee Spaney. She has built her own small version of a Jaeger that she can control by herself. The really big Jaegers require two people to hook up to and control the body. They are caught by the authorities, and in order to avoid spending time in jail, they are both sent to the Pan-Pacific Defense Group Academy, I'm not exactly sure what it's called, where Jake, who has already had training as a Jaeger driver, will return to service, and Amara will become a cadet. That is where we meet Nate Lambert, played by Scott Eastwood. And Nate and Jake have some history because of the way Jake left the program. Now, there is a company run by Luan Xiao, Xiao Industries. She is played by Jing Tian, and she has designed some new Jaegers that are remotely controlled by a single operator. They're called drones, and she is getting ready to distribute them across the world, which would replace the Jaeger drivers like Jake and the others. But something weird happens. Another Jaeger, a very well designed and put together Jaeger, shows up and creates havoc in Sydney, Australia, and that leads to a mystery. Where did this other Jaeger come from? Why is it here? What is the purpose of it being deployed against the Jaegers? And you really won't care. Pacific Rim Uprising is not terribly good. It starts off all right with the you get the history and the interpersonal stuff between Jake and Nate, and the Amara being thrown in with a bunch of other recruits, and there's tension there. All that stuff is okay. And then we get into the meat of the story, and it's like, it doesn't really make much sense. It's rather silly. And the way the story winds up at the end with a giant battle in Tokyo, also extraordinarily It goes for a more cartoonish take on the battle between the Jaegers and the kaiju. And that is that the story is also not helped by the performance of John Boyega, who I really, really like, and who is a producer of this film. You know, he's sort of the, I don't really care about all this stuff, I'm just in it for me. And he, you know, the character tries to be funny throughout, and that gets a little tiresome. Also, we've got Charlie Day back as Dr. Newton Geisler and Bern Gorman as Dr. Herman Gottlieb. Kind of the misfits, scientific misfits of the group. And that relationship starts off interesting, and then it takes a kind of a weird turn, at least on one of their parts, and it again becomes kind of silly. I realize that I'm talking about a movie that has giant monsters from another dimension and giant robots that fight them. But the first film took the story kind of seriously, and the stuff that happened in the first film made a certain degree of sense. Here, it's just a lot of CG action scenes strung together. And they're hoping you'll forgive them for how silly it is. I don't. It is kind of not worth your time. I wish it was better because I really like the first Pacific Rim, but this one, not so much. That's why I am giving Pacific Rim Uprising 2 stars. Go to StanTheMovieMan.com to read my complete review. You can follow me on Twitter @MovieManStan. You can listen to The Fractured Frame. It's a movie podcast where I get with a couple of friends and we discuss the latest in movies, streaming, TV, and more. And you can send emails to me, StanTheMovieMan123 @gmail.com. Till next time, later.